I got gifted a vehicle by one of you absolute kings on World of Tanks console, and of course the vehicle that I was gifted was the T-32A Proto, and it was by Fat Little Bernie. Yes, I am going to play this vehicle. Now, it was not a good idea, and it was actually one of the worst ideas I think I've had in a long time, because this vehicle, spoiler alert, is not very good. I mean, it's okay, but it has an autoloader, so, I mean, we all love autoloaders on console. I'm not going to complain about that, but it definitely feels a little bit lackluster for probably 90% of your games, and in fact, probably more than that, to be honest. You can see here, we're kind of trying to avoid any of the shells early on in the game. I like coming into this position, getting some shots early on into the opponents like we saw there, and then kind of dealing on with whatever we want to in the rest of the game, and going through the town area and kind of side scraping and doing that sort of stuff as a traditional heavy tank should. And you can see here we managed to pip the Borask here, and unfortunately for him we connect every single one of our shots. The alpha damage on this vehicle is 320 per shell. There are 3 shells, 960 total damage in one clip, which is pretty decent, but remember, you do reload in 22 seconds, so it's not particularly the fastest at trying to reload, and that's my problem I have with this vehicle over the standard Tech Tree T32, and in fact, to be honest with you, I'm going to call it the T32 Tech Tree version is actually probably better, albeit the Tech Tree doesn't actually get the autoloader. So you can see here, we're going after the Diamondback, and this is where it is fun, is when you catch a tank destroyer or some tank out in the middle of the open and you place a few rounds into them, and of course come away with some nice extra damage within the replay. So we're up to 2,500 damage, and I actually think that, you know, in the right hands this vehicle I'm sure will be good, but it's not my playstyle. It's too slow. It can definitely carry, you can have some good games, but I just feel like if I'm going to play a tank that kind of sacrifices all of that, I'd far rather play something else. I would far rather jump into a medium tank and play a different version that has a nice autoloader. And the problem I have with the T-32A Proto is that this gets like the prototype turret. I'm not talking about the T-28 prototype, I'm on about the actual kind of prototype version of the T-32 turret, and that is a big letdown because the stock T-32 turret is awful. It's absolutely terrible, and you get penned pretty much by everything and anything. If you've ever played the pattern, it's pretty much the same thing. You can see here we go after the Jagdtiger and we put a round into him. Also know that there's an AMX M4 on the enemy team, but of course we are reloading, so this could be it could have been a very bad situation with the Jagdtiger sat in front of us, who's subsequently been taken out, but also then having the AMX, who if he decided to stay would have been a pain in the backside. Unfortunately for me, and actually trying to get some more damage in this game, he doesn't actually go that way. So I'm deciding, you know what, I'm going to go around behind them, I'm going to surprise them, we're going to put ourselves in a position that is generally going to be better. No one wants to be facing some of these vehicles head on, especially when you don't have the alpha damage capacity of maybe something else in the game. Something like the T-34E2 or T-42, I don't even know, the Renegade. I think it's the T-42E2 or something like that, or the T-34E2, but basically that has 3 shells but 360 alpha. It also gets a turret to a degree, it's much faster, it's more nimble. Why would you play this vehicle? I don't know, but that's basically my opinion on this vehicle, is that there are so many other vehicles in the game that are just going to be better, and you've probably picked up some of them for free anyway, that yeah, playing something like this just isn't where it's at. And I think that there are far better tanks, far better autoloaders, and in general far better heavy tanks that you can play that won't cost you any money at all, and you'd be way better off doing that. So we're coming in now against the AMX, hoping we can get some extra damage. Unfortunately he takes one from the our teammate there. Well, unfortunate for me in terms of getting extra damage, and that can be definitely a problem in the T-32A Proto. But yeah, we come out with the win nonetheless. So we also jump into the next replay pretty quickly after, and this is actually the second replay in a row. So we are playing in the T32A Proto, hoping that we'll get like a really good game. I wasn't sure how this thing was going to play, you know, with an autoloader. I'm always keen to give them a go because they can usually be pretty good, pretty OP, to be honest with you, in the right sort of hands. Not that I'm saying my hands are the right one all of the time, but yeah, I was definitely hoping to come out with some pretty good results, but that isn't the case. In general with this thing, it's going to be a lot harder for you to be more kind of active and be able to have those ridiculous games. Now I'm trying to ping into the central area. I want to go in, I want to do some damage, and I want to go forward. And we're about to find out some of the things that the T32A Proto just doesn't like, and we'll see that in a second. But whilst we're getting to that second, I want to talk about mainly the gun handling. Now, the gun handling on a heavy tank, or for a heavy tank, is actually really good. That's primarily because you're going so slow, so is it really good? I don't know, because like you're sacrificing the mobility to be able to get it, but yeah, it is good because that's how fast you can go and you don't have that much of a dispersion, but you are sacrificing mobility once again. See here, doing about 25 kilometers an hour. Now, this isn't the scenario that you hate in the T32, and if I was in a standard T32 it would be 10 times better. Because why? Well, because we'd be able to deal with this T41E1 very easily, and we'd be able to dump a load of rounds into him. We'd be able to basically deal with him super nicely. Now we're going in after this T41, blocking him up against the ropes, and then he bounces a few, and you can see here pretty much every round he's firing is penning me. So yeah, like there's not a lot you can do, and unfortunately if you come up against other autoloaders like that, you're not going to come out with the victory that often. We try and go for the Manticore, don't manage to actually hit him. Would have been nice to hit him blind, but that's just not the case. And now we've got a 22.5 second reload. I was a little bit tilted at the fact that we did actually get punished so badly for coming into the central area. I know it has an autoloader, but I just felt like maybe the armor would work a little bit better, especially in the aggressive kind of face-hugging capability. But yeah, you could see there that trying to face-hug tanks was not a good idea, and we definitely came off the worse for wear by doing that. But in this game, I want to showcase, you know, the good and bad, because I could sit here and I could probably pump out a 5k damage game in this thing, but is that really true to the reality of you guys if you do ever decide to get this thing? It is on sale at the minute, and to be honest with you, save your money. It is not worth the gold that you would be paying for it, in my personal opinion, from me to you guys. Yeah, just try and avoid it unless you seriously want this tank. Like, if you really want it, don't not get it because I said not to get it. But if you genuinely are wanting something that's super competitive and are thinking that this autoloader is going to be the thing to get, then no, you'd be better off saving your money and going for something else. You can see here we're kind of in a bad position because we're out in the open, and I was hoping to get some shots on the Tiger II. Now we don't manage to do that, but what we do here is try and provide some support to the YOLOing, or the tank that's being YOLO'd on our team, sat in base kind of against the Object 279E, and at this point, you know, we're thinking, maybe I can go for the turret shot of the 279E, and we are actually penning. But remember, I am using premium rounds in this thing, and before you go, oh, it's just gold spamming loadout, actually, no, this tank just doesn't particularly have good pen, to be honest with you, on its standard rounds. And when you've only got 900 alpha and you're having to spend 22.5 seconds to fully reload the vehicle, if you then end up bouncing any of them, you become a tank that takes 22.5 seconds plus the intraclip reload, so about 26 seconds total to be able to deal 600 damage. And if you only pen one, 26.5 seconds to be able to do 320 damage. So yeah, you get what I mean. It is not fun at all, and you definitely don't want to be bouncing in this thing, which is why I always tend to kind of, in tanks where I feel like it's actually necessary, like this one, you've just got to make up for the fact that you're going to get pumped basically by everyone else. No one's going to bounce off you, so you want to make sure that you can actually pen things, and especially in tier 10 games, the 200 penetration on your standard rounds just is not enough to be able to go through some of the tier 10 heavies, and you're definitely going to suffer from that. So make sure that you do decide to load some premium every now and again. And you can see there we actually loaded some standard, but then decided against it, probably because I was just trying to make sure that I'm getting some damage. But you can see here 3,200 damage, and this is where the tank probably gets limited, because after 3 shots or 3 successful clipping damage results, then you're usually kind of where you're at the maximum, and we're kind of just trying to now hopefully get towards someone that's going to give us some form of damage, but it doesn't look like they are. I then decide, maybe I'll actually be able to get down here. Yes, yeah. Turns out I can't get down there, and we end up getting taken out, but nonetheless we still do actually win in this game, and the waffle gets taken out shortly after by our friendly AMX 13105, who successfully lands the Cobra as well. So yeah, I really thoroughly found this tank annoying to play, but it definitely was an interesting one, and you know what, it's a kind of different tank to what I'm used to, and so I can't complain all too much. But yeah, thank you very much to Fat Little Bernie once again for gifting me this tank in game. Really did enjoy it, and or enjoyed the challenge, I should say, not the tank. But hopefully you guys have your own opinions on this vehicle. Is it completely better than what I actually say, or is it completely worse? I'm interested to see your opinions in the comment section down below. And don't forget, if you did like or dislike this video, to do that, and of course that does greatly help out the channel. Don't forget, if you want to check out some other gameplay on the latest Season Pass tanks and some of the other tanks in this game, including premiums and tech tree vehicles, then take a look at the gameplay and tank reviews players on screen right now. Other than that, I hope you join me in the next one. Goodbye.